Honestly, when I started riding many years ago, I kind of wish somebody told me that temperature makes a big difference on your motorcycle. There's lots of stuff I wish people told me about when I started riding motorcycles. I'm gonna get into some of them in this video, but temperature I think is the biggest one. When I started riding, I did not realize how wind chill affects you so much more, right? When you're on the motorcycle, it might be 55 degrees outside and you think, well, that's not that cold, but then if you go out there in perforated gear, not wearing anything underneath, maybe not even a base layer or anything like that, you're gonna get cold really fast. I think wind chill drops you 20 degrees lower than the ambient temperature when you're at speed on a motorcycle. So that combined with your hands freezing over, especially if you're on a street motorcycle like a Turbo Hayabusa or something like that, your palms and your hands are gonna start getting really cold as you ride. It really impedes your ability to operate the machine too. Also, warm weather, nobody ever tells you when you start riding of how absolutely scorching hot it can be sometimes. If you live in the South like I do here in Texas, you know, if you go out in 95, 100, 105 degree weather, you're on this motorcycle that is really hot, it's starting to boil over, you're starting to boil over. If you sit at a traffic light for too long, all of a sudden you start just becoming literally like a cooked egg out there on the sidewalk. It's ridiculous how much more affected by temperature you are on a motorcycle, and that's something I wish people had told me when I started riding. But I've got many other things in today's video that I think you're gonna wanna know if you're about to get started riding motorcycles. So in case you may not know, I am Yami Noob. The channel is Yami Noob. I've been riding for many years. We help beginner and aspirational motorcyclists here on this channel. If you like that sort of thing, join our community over at yaminoob.co. We help new riders just like yourselves get into the hobby, the lifestyle in a little bit of an easier way. So hit that link below and do check us out. Speaking of which, I really think that good gear is something that I really wish someone had told me about when I started riding. I was a little bit more cash conscious when I started riding. We'll put that a little bit charitably. Read, I was a little bit broke and I only had about a couple $100 to piece together my basic beginner rider kit, which usually can get you pretty far. You get a DOT ECE rated helmet, you get some good boots, some good gloves, a jacket. You're pretty much in good shape to go ride and have some fun. But I kind of wish that I had spent a little bit more in the beginning gear. That way I wouldn't have to buy new gear again when I wanted to upgrade. Although many motorcyclists are very vain and I assume that you're gonna wanna go and buy some gear and then you wanna upgrade for the next season, you wanna flex on your homies, you know, you wanna look fresh, look clean, and that is fun, but I do think that if you spend a little bit extra on your first set of gear, it will last you longer and you won't have to upgrade quite as quickly. I'm not saying you should go buy a $1,100 Arai Corsair X and an $800 Dainese jacket, although some people do start off riding motorcycles and you do have means like that. But for most people, I think you should stick in the $300 to $400 price range for your first helmet. That's gonna get you something really nice, that's comfortable, good to ride with, and can last you for 3 years, as opposed to spending $150 on your first helmet and then $400 on your second helmet. You're gonna save more money over the long term. Same thing with boots. Buy a proper set of boots when you first start out riding. That's going to make a big difference. I highly recommend something like the Alpine Stars SMXs. That's something that I wear and something that we sell over on shop.yaminoob.co, so that's pretty cool too. The next thing I wish somebody told me when I started riding is just how fast motorcycles really are. Even the entry-level beginner stuff is still pretty quick compared to an average car. Like an SV650, which is the kind of gold standard for your starter motorcycle that people can grow into properly, makes about 75 horsepower, and I'm pretty sure it can accelerate 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, which is properly fast. Most car guys would kill for those kind of numbers. That is the entry-level motorcycle, right? I mean, you look at stuff like top-end leader bikes, you're talking, the 0 to 60 times don't even matter as much anymore because you're just fighting physics at that point, but the pull from 100+ miles per hour is just out of control. And then that's not even considering stuff like Turbo Boosas, H2s, really fast motorcycles. I mean, bikes are incomprehensibly fast when you start riding them. I remember my first bike was a Yamaha R3 and I felt like it was properly quick for what it was. I was like, this is actually a pretty quick little machine. you get used to it pretty easily, but the perception of speed is really different on a motorcycle, right? Like when you're actually aboard this machine that can rip through time and space like that, you know, motorcycles, they're like needles. They just want to fly through the air. And when you're on it and you sense the wind and the speed through your helmet and you feel it when you crank on the throttle with your hands, they're so much more visceral than a four-wheeled vehicle, in my opinion. And I really think that, you know, I wish someone had told me just how visceral motorcycles were. I didn't really understand whenever I first started riding about how much more involved and visceral they are, which is honestly the fun of them, really. Okay, this next one I want to tell you guys about, something I wish people had told me, is the visor situation. This is a really funny one. So a lot of guys will go out and they get a helmet and they get a dark tinted visor because they're like, heck yeah, I want to look cool. Well, it's cool up until you ride at night and then you cannot see, and then you're like, wait, do I need to bring a second visor with me, or do I need to only wear a clear visor like a nerd and then I have to wear sunglasses underneath, which is not a bad solution, but I just wish somebody had told me that when I started riding, because I was that guy who bought a dark tinted visor, and then my first ride out at night, I was like, oh my God, I can't see a damn thing. You really can't. You can't see a damn thing if you have a dark tinted visor when you're out at night. And vision is a little bit important when you're riding a motorcycle. So there's lots of solutions around this, right? Like I said, if you don't mind how you look as much, you can wear a clear visor with some sunglasses. That is a great solution, and is the cheapest solution too. Another really cool solution is having a set of transition visor lenses. There's many manufacturers who sell these kind of lenses. Bell comes to mind. I have a Race Star helmet that I got recently when I went out and did the champ school in Arizona. I needed a helmet and I just bought one at Cycle Gear. And so that helmet actually has a clear to tinted transition visor, which is pretty neat. But you could always carry around separate visors in your backpack. It's a little cumbersome, but you can do that. But that's something I wish somebody had told me, because you just buy a helmet that looks cool and you don't even think about riding at night like that yet. So definitely keep that in mind. So the other thing that I wish people had told me is that riding really fast is actually really difficult. It's really easy to go fast in a straight line. You can figure that out probably within your first week of riding motorcycles, and then it's all about just how brave and stupid you are at that point. But to actually ride really fast, like on a track and take corners, is really difficult. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of dedicated training, a lot of studying, a lot of homework, a lot of thinking, a lot of lessons, and it's not something that's gonna come super easy to you. Unless you are naturally gifted and you are just extremely good at riding motorcycles, you know, normally. But most people fall in the category of it's going to be difficult and it's going to be a big learning exercise. So keep that in mind. When you see guys ripping around a racetrack like your MotoGP Stars World Superbike, it is not as easy as it looks. They make it look really easy, but to actually have that kind of pace, it's really hard. It requires a lot more bravery than you would imagine. All right, this one might be apparent already if you're already starting to get into your journey, but it is gonna hurt your wallet when you start riding motorcycles. There's no two ways about it. It is a money pit of a hobby. There are worse money pit hobbies out there. You know, you got those guys painting those little Warhammer figurines. That's probably a worse money pit than motorcycling. But bikes are expensive, man. No way you slice it. Any way you slice it, it is gonna be pricey to get into this hobby. You're talking about getting the bike, getting the insurance, getting all the gear, doing all that stuff. The costs tend to mellow out after the initial buy-in. Like, to get into it for your first year is probably going to be a lot of money that you spend, but then you're probably going to want to modify your bike and go to cool track days, or go on big road trips with your buddies, or get another bike to have friends with your other bike, and you know, it starts to become a big all-encompassing cost lifestyle sort of thing. So don't kid yourself. Motorcycles are definitely heavy on the wallet, and I wish someone had told me that when I started. Okay, this next one. Motorcycles are really easy to work on. This is something that I wish somebody had told me, because it would have made me even more excited to get started, because they are so accessible, man. Like, motorcycles don't weigh very much. They're relatively small. All you really need is a rear stand, and you can get a lot done on a motorcycle with just a rear stand in your garage. I wish somebody told me that, you know, to change the oil out on a bike is a 15-minute job, to lubricate the chain, to take off to completely disassemble the rear tire is honestly not even that tough. That's something I wish somebody had told me when I started riding, is just how enjoyable and how easy it is to work on bikes. Before I started riding motorcycles, I'd done a little bit of work on cars, and it is just a huge pain in the butt doing stuff on cars, to the point now where nowadays I would literally never work on a four-wheeled vehicle of my own volition. Maybe if I was in a pinch and I had to do something, sure, but I would rather sit on a cactus than change the oil in my truck or something like that. But on a motorcycle, it's like it feels worth it almost. You know, it's like that meme of Gordon Ramsay calling something a donkey and then praising something for being cute and lovely. To me, the donkey is a four-wheeled vehicle and the lovely thing is a motorcycle. I would love to, you know, I love to work on my bikes and to keep them and to maintain them myself, but I hate working on four-wheeled vehicles. So I wish somebody told me how fun bikes are to work on and how easy it is. Everything is just hand tools, it's right there, accessible. Very infrequently do you get into a mode where you just want to yell and curse at the thing and bolts just won't come off. It's pretty rare, honestly. Bikes are really, really easy and rewarding to work on. All right, last bit for today's video. The last thing I wish somebody had told me is that there's a huge world of motorcycles out there, man. I was really this like sport bike squid when I started. All I wanted to do was ride sport bikes and go fast and carve up corners, and I still do a lot of that, to be fair. I ride on the track all the time and I love fast bikes, but I have a motocross bike, an enduro bike, my desert sled. You know, I really enjoy a lot of aspects of motorcycling nowadays, especially the trail and enduro side of stuff. I've been getting into that a lot more lately, but I wish somebody told me that there's all these different styles of bikes that are really fun. Even the ones that look dorky or weird, they're typically the most fun motorcycles, like dual sport bikes. If I had had my way, if I could redo everything back then, I probably would have just got a cheapo dual sport and done like a dual sport in a supermoto style with that bike and just had so much fun with it. That's what I would have done, but instead I started on a sport bike. But I guess it turned into Yami Noob, so it's not too bad. You know, here we are with this whole setup here. But yeah, I think that there's so many different bikes out there and you shouldn't limit yourself. If you're the type of guy that you want to get a dirt bike, you know, look at some sport bikes. They're a lot of fun too. If you're a guy that only wants sport bikes, check out some other stuff too. There's lots of cool bikes out there that fit your needs, and it's cool to understand what those needs are. You know, maybe you think that you want a super high-powered leader bike to rip up on the highway, but then you ride a dual sport and you jump over curbs and bop around your local trails and you're like, I'm having a lot more fun doing this than just going like a missile on the highway. So I recommend taking a look at the wide world of motorcycles. But that's gonna wrap up today's video, guys. Those are my things that I wish somebody had told me when I started riding motorcycles. It would have definitely helped me out a little bit. Hopefully this video helps you out. If you're a beginner or aspiring rider, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And join our community over at yaminoob.co. We're always helping out new riders on our Discord server. You get behind the scenes access to content and 10% off on our store. So if you're looking at getting your first beginner kit, the best way to do is become a member over at yaminoob.co. Catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yami Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yami Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yami Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yami Noob.